Hello, my name is Kyle Ruud, and I'm going to talk you through my personal application project with Excel for the business applications class. Start by sharing my screen here. The client that I'm working for to build this project, he's an instructor here in Idaho. He's actually one of 2 or 3 master firearms instructors, and he runs a lot of personal training on the side. He has a lifetime of law enforcement and shooting experience, but he says one of the problems he's always had is just keeping his books in order. So I told him about some of the functions we've been learning about in Excel and how simple it makes it to use. And so I decided to build him a way to simplify his registration process and process people through the course. So this is kind of a demo for that and a format that he could use down the road once presented to him. So here is the dashboard. We have a very simple count function counting the shooters that are in the current phases right now. Down here is where it gets a little more complicated. We have the registered shooters. You have your drop-down list, selectable. The information here is all populated with VLOOKUP functions. The VLOOKUP function is also embedded with a match function across the other sheet. The registration information sheet down at the bottom, we'll go through that in a moment. As you can see, everything populates. He has a confirmation code. He has their personal information. He needs this type of information for potential liability, or should, crime police need to talk to him. This way he has all this data on record should someone come looking for it for legal reasons. Obviously he protects their information, but it's smart for him to have it. It has their street address, city, state, zip. You can get a hold of them. It has the phases that they've registered for. And at the bottom here, this is an important part as well, because I have set it up so that if they failed the background check, it populates with a conditional formatting to indicate whether or not there's an issue in their registration process so far. So if we select another one, and this is my name, this basically indicates that the background check is completed, the date I paid in full, the discounts that I'm applied to, my prior service, and the total amount for the courses I've paid for. And this is indicating that I would have gone through all 5 phases of his training. And so this is just a really quick and easy way for him to look up any of his registered shooters and see exactly what status they're in, whether the background check has been failed or initiated, whether they've paid in full, whether they're receiving discounts on his training, and whether or not they were prior service. He gets a lot of police, military, or just civilian shooters. So he wanted to have that in there as well. As we move over to the registration information, this would be the primary page where if he was to receive a phone call and need to enter data, he would be able to easily go across the format here, entering the data through a phone call or from an ID, or both, as the contact with the customer dictates, and populate all of this information very quick and easy. He even has a slot for rifle serial numbers, and he has confirmation codes that are alphanumerically generated. And I left him the actual formula down at the bottom, exactly what to do to randomize an alphanumeric code to give somebody if you needed to add more seats to this. So we have all of their contact information. One thing that I've done with this as well is all of the data as he enters it here also automatically populates the mirrored image for the key data onto the other sheets where he needs information popping up as well. So that way he doesn't have to enter the information again. It's automatically redundant into the other sheets. So you can see here, registration information from A9 is just pulled straight from the initial page here. Here we have conditional formatting to draw attention to people that have not paid. The background check status, as we saw in the dashboard, and this allows him to quickly go across the phases that someone wants to register for and pay for. It has the date they paid for it as well. On the course payments page, where we have the data automatically populating, and from the registration information, anytime someone is registering for a course, it applies the proper values, it runs the totals, and it also automatically determines whether or not they are receiving discounts for prior service. And that's based on an if function, basic sum functions for some of this stuff here. The entire thing is manipulatable based on his current cost per phase, which is about $300 a course for an all-day shooting course. If they get all the phases, they get a discount. If they're prior service, they get a discount. And at the bottom here, I have the sums for that. So I've got the projected grand total based on his registration. I have what has been actually paid, and I've got the actual highlighted unpaid course fees. So if someone has decided to register but hasn't quite paid, that's also summed up there based on relating to these over here, the unpaid slots, which are also highlighted to indicate for that reason. The final sheet of this workbook is the participant progress, where he can enter the actual test scores from the various phases during training. He generally just runs a clipboard out on the range, makes a few notes, jots it down, and these are pretty simple. They're conditionally formatted to indicate whether someone has failed. So it's easy to see if they need to repeat training or get remedial help. This also helps him see if certain people or certain demographic are failing a certain phase, maybe he needs to adjust his training. This helps him get some information on that. It's also, I've got a function over here for an if error. It's a simple total for the total in division for the percentage of the two phases mixed. And it also highlights the phase high shooter, whoever performed the best. So that's kind of a quick overview of the functionality I've built for my friend, Cal Edwards. He's a firearms instructor, and I think he could get a lot of use out of something like this. If there's any tips or advice to maybe make it better, or information that you think could be added to make it even easier for him to use, that would be great. Thank you.